Good morning, everyone. We are now live, and where the new show today is, Are You an Interest Generating Machine? Oh my gosh, this show is going to be off the chain. For 89 years. Next year will be the 90th anniversary of the self-amortizing mortgage. So, are you an interest generating machine? Do you need to break free? Do you want to know what it's all about and what keeps us chained to this thing forever? We're going to talk about it today. So grab somebody, grab a friend, share this out, make sure everyone knows. And I need your help here today. I need you to share our YouTube channel, subscribe, and tell everybody that we are actually telling people the truth about lending and how it actually works. So if you're ready to learn the truth, if you're ready to understand how you're an interest generating machine and how you can break free, today is your day. Let's go. All right, today my name is Don Daniel, founder of P.I.L.L Method International, a better way to eliminate debt. And today we are talking about, are you an interest generating machine? Let me put that graphic back up on the screen one more time. Are you an interest generating machine? And do you want to know how to break free with the P.I.L.L Method? We're going to jump right in and talk about some things today as to what is going on to keep us in a situation where we are giving away our money. We're being charged 75 to 80% more interest than we need to pay. And we continue to do it, even though we've been here for over 3 years. I mean, with a megaphone telling the truth. This content on YouTube, Facebook, LinkedIn, TikTok, this content, no one else is talking about how to cut your interest cost by 75% with your current budget. I mean, we talk about the avalanche method. We talk about the debt snowball. We talk about velocity banking. We talk about all sorts of things to handle your debt, except what is really going to help. And what's really going to help, ladies and gentlemen, is that we stop paying all of that interest when we don't have to. There is an apparent weakness in the system. And the only thing that causes this system to continue is our inability to believe it, to see it, and to stop doing it, even though all of the information is available. Oh my goodness. Let me start here. Let me put this on the screen, okay? I'm putting this on the screen. It's called cognitive dissonance. Cognitive dissonance. You see, somebody has looked into this thing and says, when something is that is so different from what we already believe, even though there's credible evidence that the thing that's different is actually what we need, but it is so far removed from what we have been told, what we have been taught, what we have been conditioned to believe, it is hard to change. Okay? Ken says, come on up. All right? Come on up, Ken. I need somebody to watch my back because this is going to be good. There you are, Ken. All right, let me moderate you here. Oh, there you go. So, Ken, can you watch the stage for me? Because I know people are going to be raising their hands and want to come up on this thing. All right. So, if you, all right, so hold on. So, for some reason, my audio is not. Oh, okay. Hold on. I have got to fix my audio here. There we go. Is that better? You guys hear me better now? So, Ken,
Yes, sir. Can you hear me?
yes, sir. How have you been?
I've been great. I've been great.
Listen, man, I really need your help today because we need to bring as many people on the stage as possible. If you're watching us on YouTube, Facebook, LinkedIn, you need to put some stuff in the comments about what's really happening today because I'm going to be talking about why are we in the situation we're in and how we have been here for 89 years. 89 years. The first self amortizing mortgage was introduced in the United States in 1936 with virtually no information as to how it works. We get a payment we can afford, but it is only expensive to maintain. But somehow we have been conditioned not to see how expensive it really is. We think, I mean, it has become normalized. So let's take a look at what it means to have cognitive dissonance, a psychological term referring to the discomfort felt when holding conflicting beliefs. So we know that interest is something we don't like. We know, but we also have been led to believe it is a necessary evil if you want to buy a house or a car. And these days, with the expense, we borrow the money. I'm going to tell you right now, I like borrowing the money. Borrowing the money is a good thing. All right. So, but what you don't want is to borrow the money at retail prices. You can borrow the money at wholesale prices. You can pay a lot less. But because of all the information that is already out there, and then when we present this information, how the weakness in the system has never been exposed, but when we expose it, it just seems so incredibly easy not to pay that interest. We tend to think that something is wrong with it. I'm telling you, when the contrast is that deep, when the difference is that much, we tend to believe that old saying, if it's too good to be true, it probably is. But I'm telling you, ladies and gentlemen, I'm telling all of you, whether you're watching us live or watching the replay, tell everybody about this. I need you to focus in here. A psychological term referring to the discomfort felt when holding conflicting beliefs or values or when acting in ways that contradicts one's own belief. I believe, I believe that we're supposed to be paying interest like this. I believe because we've always done it. If there was something wrong with it, then Don, it wouldn't just be you on YouTube. It would be on the news. It would be on NBC. It would be on CNBC. It would be on the CBS Evening News. Why is it that you're a lone voice that's talking about this and no one else is picking it up? Because of one reason is because of cognitive dissonance. It just seems so implausible that I'm looking at the numbers and the numbers are saying, see, the numbers are telling me that this thing is right. The feeling is that this thing is right, but it goes contrary to the very things I have been taught. Now I have to make a decision. Am I going to continue to do the thing that I've always done. Because see, here's what's happening. I've been living in this house for 5 years, and it's a nice house in a nice neighborhood. I just make my mortgage payment and everything's cool. I just make my car payment and everything's great. I pay on my credit cards every single month. I make enough money. Everything is all right. Okay. And I've learned a few things. I can do a biweekly payment. I can round up my payment. I can even refinance to get a lower payment. These things I know. Everybody talks about these things. But the thing that you're talking about, Don, you can take a small amount of money, like $200, and kill $1,000 worth of interest I never have to pay. Nobody is talking about that. I see the numbers in front of me. I just can't seem to wrap my head around it, to believe it, to go forward. But let me tell you something, folks. Let me tell you something that maybe a lot of you don't know. The name of our business is the P.I.L.L method. When you first hear P.I.L.L method, what is the first thing that comes to mind? Okay, put it in the chat. When you first hear the P.I.L.L method, what is the first thing to come to mind? Somebody come to the stage and tell me. What's the first thing that comes to mind? Raise your hand. Come on up. Put it in the chat. Okay. Wendy, good morning to you. First time in the room. Interesting topic. Love it. I'm glad you're here. Come on up to the stage, Wendy. Raise your hand. We'll bring you up. You can talk about it. Okay. So let me tell you something, folks. If you want to see what we have on the screen, do that. All right. Come on up. This thing that we have been conditioned to think and believe, it is hard to get away from it. It is hard to get away from it because it just seems so right. It seems right. But if I have to make a decision, I've got to leave what I know has been working. It doesn't work like I want it to work, but doggone it, Don, it works. It is working. I'm in my house. I'm in my car. My kids go to a private school. Everything is working out fine. But you're saying we don't have to do it this way. We can cut out that interest, 75 to 80% of it. The money that we're not paying the bank, we could actually invest it in ourselves and turn it into $1 million or more by not giving that money to the bank. You better believe that we can. We can. So I need you to understand, folks, it is this discomfort that we feel. It motivates people to make a decision, okay? Because that discomfort is almost palpable. I mean, you can feel it physically at times. When it becomes that uncomfortable, you have a decision to make. This discomfort motivates individuals to reduce the dissonance by changing their beliefs, behaviors, or attitudes to achieve consistency. So if I want to get rid of this feeling, I've got one of two choices. I can change my idea. I can change over to the new idea and see that I'm far better off. Or I can feel better by continuing to do the thing that I've always done and stop thinking about the change altogether. I feel better that way as well. But the banks are winning that way. They're making trillions of dollars by turning us into an interest generating machine. So that's the first idea. Here's the second idea that we need to be aware of. I got to fix my studio light here. Okay. Here is the second idea we need to understand. Inattentional blindness. Inattentional blindness means this. Now, I'm telling you, there are psychologists that study these things. And if business wants you to do a certain thing, to believe a certain way, they understand how we make decisions around money. And when people understand how we make decisions around money, they exploit that to keep us doing the thing that we've always done. I'm telling you. So let me read this, and I'm going to talk to Anthony here for a second. Inattentional blindness, also known as perceptual blindness, is the phenomenon of failing to notice something clearly visible because one's attention is focused elsewhere. I'm going to put some things on the screen here in a minute, ladies and gentlemen, that show you how much interest we're actually paying and how we don't have to do it. But it is right there in front of us. It's hidden in plain sight. In fact, it is spelled out in front of us in our loan papers that we sign. But the people who are giving us the loan are not required to explain the very rules in the loan that will get us out of the loan, not in 30 years, but in 7 years. The rules are in there. It's hidden in plain sight, but our attention is elsewhere. Anthony, how are you this morning, sir? Can you talk to us? Now, some people come in, they're at work and they like to listen. Anthony, yes, sir. Good morning, sir. You got some background noise. We can barely hear you, Anthony.
Can you hear me now?
Yeah. Do you have like an earpiece in or something?
Yes, I do.
Can you take that out, please? Because that's picking up all the background noise. And can you just use the your phone? Oh, I think I'm hearing you better now. You there, Anthony? All right, Anthony. So let's see if you can fix that and just use your phone. All right, talk to us now. Anthony, you there? The background noise is gone.
Is that okay? Or,
It's a little better. What did you want to say?
I just wanted to say good morning. Good morning, and one question I have for you, and I was thinking about this yesterday. I'm a real estate agent,
Yes.
and with the interest rates that's going on, knowing that in the past we had interest rates of like 3%, and now we up what 6%, 7. We up higher. By having a higher interest rate, don't with your mortgage loan, don't you pay your mortgage off quicker with the higher interest rate?
Well, you see, now I know that to be true, but can you imagine someone hearing that for the first time, that you can actually pay a mortgage off faster and easier and cheaper with a higher interest rate? Can you imagine people hearing that and the cognitive dissonance it actually creates?
Yes.
It's interesting to look at it. It's interesting to look at it. So let's do that. So why don't you go on mute? And since you brought that up, let's put a couple of examples on the screen about that. Okay. Thank you, sir. All right, folks. Anthony brought up something that very interesting. All right, you got to mute, Anthony.
Okay. Give me
We're,
one second.
yeah, we're hearing that background noise. But anytime you want to ask a question or make a comment, please unmute, make a comment, and we'll talk about it. All right. So let's go ahead and put this on the screen here. All right. There's Brett Whistle. We're going to put up this one, and we're going to put up a second one. And we are going to put in the average home price is about $400,000. I've got a 4% interest rate here. Let's make it 5.5, because right now there are builders out there that will offer you a 5.5 if you work with them, as opposed to the 7% you're going to get on your own. And Anthony brought out that you can actually save more money faster at the higher interest rate than at the lower one. And that causes cognitive dissonance. But the information that we need is right in front of us. And because of inattentional blindness, we don't see it. We can't see it because we're focused in the wrong area. So let me pull this up. We're going to put this in here, okay, at 5.5. We're also going to put this in here at $400,000 at 7%. 7%. There we go. Now, learning how to read an amortization schedule is crucial in all of this. If you're going to be using a loan, we need to learn how to read an amortization schedule. That is key to all of this. And this is the very thing that we are not taught. It is easier to teach an 8th grader how not to pay interest than their 30-year-old parents. Are you hearing me today? It is easier to teach an 8th grader not to pay all of this interest than the 30-year-old parents, because the 30-year-old parents have already been conditioned to do it. And not to do it seems strange, even though we point out the numbers right here. So in this thing, folks, here is the key. Learning how to read this and knowing if you control the principal payment, you control the loan, not the interest rate. But if you control the principal payment, you control the loan. The payment on a $400,000 mortgage is 7% is $2,661.21. But I need you all to look at the principal payment here of $327.88. And I need you to look at the interest payments of over $2,300. We are taught to look at the interest rate. We are taught to look at the interest payment each month. But what we're not taught, which is right in front of us, is how to look at the principal payment. If you control the principal payment, you control the loan, and interest payments you skip don't matter. Listen, here is what we're talking about. If you can afford this loan, do you see that if you make the very first payment here, let's call it a January payment. I've done this before, a January payment, and we're all done. But February's principal payment is $329.79. If you prepay that, if you pay it before it's due, that goes straight to principal. We're paid down to line 2 on the amortization schedule. And next month, we're actually on line 3 for February. So $329 paid to the mortgage company or paid to the bank when they're not expecting it will kill $2,331.42 worth of interest that we never have to pay. It is $329. Now, if I do the same mortgage, here at 5.5%, look at my principal payment now. Let me get rid of some of this advertising here. Look at that principal payment now. Look here. It's now $437, $439. I need you to take a look at the 7% interest rate. The principal payment is lower. We attack the loans with the principal payment. I got $300 payments here that I can attack this loan with and get further into the loan faster. In fact, if I add up all the payments for the year, all the principal payments for the year, it comes to $4,063.23. If I prepay that, I'm just not saying that you have to, I'm just giving you the examples that Anthony brought up today. If you prepay the $4,063 up front on payment number 1, you're paid down to line 12 in 1 month. You knock off a whole year's worth of payments with $4,000 paid up front. Now, if you lower the interest rate to 5.5 on the same amount of money. Now your principal payments are in the $400 range. It takes $5,388 to eliminate 1 year off this mortgage if you prepay it. Now, does that seem strange to you that a higher interest rate can actually save you more money and get you out of debt faster? This is what we mean by cognitive dissonance. And I'm telling you, folks, there are people in banking that depend on the fact that you have cognitive dissonance about this thing and not believe it or have such bad feelings about it. It says, there's something wrong here because it goes against everything I've ever been taught. Do you know it was cognitive dissonance that kept people off of trains for a long time? When trains started to crisscross the country, there were doctors that were saying that if a train gets to 60 miles an hour, it will outrun the oxygen and you'll suffocate. Do you know that kept people off of trains? Oh my gosh. When something is new, somebody's going to come along and point out something they think is wrong with it. So you will continue to do what you've always done. Listen, folks, do you realize there are people who are saying that if you were meant to fly, God would have given you wings to keep people off of airplanes? I just got back from a trip, and I flew there and flew back. I don't want to be on the ground for that. I don't want to drive all that way when I could get on a plane and be there in an hour or two. So, folks, here's what I'm trying to tell you today. Somebody out there wants you to believe to continue to do what we've always done so that they can continue to make a lot of money. And who makes money on your mortgage and other loans? Investors make money on your loans. This is why you are not taught this since 1936. This is why you are an interest generating machine. Somebody said that it is illegal to enslave people. How can I still benefit as a business person when it's illegal to enslave people? I can put in place a system that looks like it's benefiting everybody. They can get into their house. We can give them a payment they can afford. But now I can discount that payment like this. So if we take a look at this thing, let's go back to this 7% loan that's scaring everybody, and we'll put a calculator on the screen. So if my payment is $2,661, okay, and my first interest payment is $23.33. Let's put that on the screen. $23.33.33, and divide it by my entire regular payment. Okay, divide it by 26.61.21. Oops. Delete. 0.21. There we go. Okay. 88%. 88% of this payment is discounted by the investor. You give them $2,661 because of the amortization schedule. They get to discount your payment by 88%, so that only $327.88 out of the money you just gave, only that much counts against your loan. $327.88. And somehow we have been bamboozled into thinking this is okay. That 88% of your money, in other words, 88 cents out of every dollar 88 cents out of every dollar you give towards your mortgage goes up in smoke. It's discounted, and you're paying your mortgage with 12 cents out of every dollar. And that's supposed to be okay. And we're okay with that because it's a payment we can afford. But 88%? Who wants to give up 88% of their money? Listen, folks, when you look at it this way, we are conditioned to do this, and we shouldn't be. If I showed this to your 8th grader, they would look at you and say, Mom and Dad, why are you giving up 88% of the money? Well, you don't have to. Can't you see that it is clear that if you can turn this around by if you make this payment here and then give the bank $329.79 when they're not expecting it, you get this equity for free. You don't have to pay them $2,300 to get it. If you give them like $500, you give them the payment on number 2 and number 3, a little over $500, that saves you $4,600 or $4,700 in interest you never have to pay because you're giving the bank money when they are not expecting it. Now, why is that so hard to believe? Number one, because of cognitive dissonance. Man, I see it, Don. It's right there in front of me. But somehow it just doesn't seem right. And then we've got intentional blindness, inattentional blindness. We're blind to the things we don't pay attention to. So what are we paying attention to? We're paying attention to the interest. We're paying attention to the payment. We're paying attention to how much we borrow. We're paying attention to the interest rate. But what we're not paying attention to is we know we can prepay. We know we can give the bank a little bit extra, but we have no idea how much that saves us. Zero idea. And banking depends on this to keep us in chains so that we will continue to be an interest generating machine. Here it is. Are you an interest generating machine? Do you want to break free with the P.I.L.L method? So let's not be an interest generating machine anymore. And what is the third thing? What is the third thing that banks and investors depend on? We've talked about cognitive dissonance. We've talked about inattentional blindness. Let's talk about this: predictable, irrational behavior. Economists, behavioral economists, these are people who study the economy and are doctors in psychology. Okay, they have an economic degree and they have a psychology degree. When they combine the two, it's called behavioral economics. And it has been discovered that when people are making decisions about finance, they do predictably irrational things. So this is a book called Predictably Irrational. You want to get that book. This book will help you to understand why people make irrational decisions about money and will continue to do things that will hurt their finances because it feels right to do. They will continue to do that. Folks, we've been here. I've been doing this for almost 20 years now, since 06. Listen, can you do me a favor? Help me get this message out. I believe everybody deserves to know. You deserve to know how you have been chained to a system so that people can siphon off your wealth and at the same time make you believe it is the right thing to do. I need your help to get the message out. Go to YouTube, make sure you subscribe. Tell all of your friends that they need to learn about interest cancellation, how to cancel interest optimally using a an AI powered cloud based computing system that is designed to beat the bank at their own game. I mean, disrupt their timing, which makes it impossible for them to charge you all of that interest. Let's go back. Let's go back to this this $400,000 mortgage, and let me tell you what's really going on here. You have to pay this mortgage. You have to pay out over $2,600 so that only $327 goes towards your mortgage. And you do it again the next month where $329 goes to your mortgage. And you do it the next month where only $331 goes to mortgage. And we are taught to ignore this. I call it interest consumption. How much interest are you consuming every month on your loans? We're taught to ignore that. Now think about it. Do you know, I'll talk to somebody who has been in this mortgage for 3 or 4 years, and they are shocked to find out that even after 3 years, because life goes on, they're having a good time in life, they've got the job of their dreams, everything is going great, but they didn't realize that after 36 months, they've only paid this loan down by $13,000, but they've given the bank $82,000 for the privilege. Ladies and gentlemen, does this make sense to you? I need your help to get this message out here. By the same token, I know people who make great incomes. They could, if they wanted to, give this $13,000 to the bank up front. Let me show you how incredible this is. We start out at $400,000. $400,000. And I'm going to subtract $13,092.10 right here. We subtract $13,092.10. That equals $386,907.90. That's exactly what we have here on line 12. There's a couple of ways we have been taught to do this. We can give the bank that $13,000 over 36 months at $300 a whack. Okay? $300 or just a little over $300 a month for 36 months pays this loan down by $13,000, but it cost us $82,000 in interest to do it. Or if you're fortunate enough, I'm just saying, I'm just showing you the math. I'm not telling you have to do it this way. But if you're fortunate enough to have $13,000 sitting in the bank, you're looking at it and you like seeing it. I see people who have 20, 30, 40, 50, 80,000, $100,000 sitting in the bank because they make good incomes. And I mean, they got their 401ks in place. Everything is golden. Everything is going great. But if they had taken that $13,000 out of the bank and given it to the mortgage, they would have knocked 3 years off the mortgage just like that and saved $80,000 in interest they don't have to pay. In other words, you can get this same equity, $13,000 worth of equity, not for $82,000 in interest paid, but for the first interest payment of $2,333. $2,333 as opposed to $82,000. Why in the world, no matter what's going on in your brain, I'm going to continue to do what I'm doing here till this YouTube channel blows up and we have 500,000 subscribers, to go to 1 million subscribers, to go to 10 million subscribers. This is the most valuable financial information on the internet today. We need to have way more subscribers, and I need your help to get there. I'm just saying, what is more valuable than this? So Don, what is it? What else can we do here? What else can we do here? We're taught to do all sorts of things. So let me tell you, if you're dealing with a builder right now, I'm going to give you a little bit of game. You may be ready to buy a house even at 7%, but you have found a builder across town that says, if you buy one of our houses, we'll get you an interest rate of 5.5%. We're going to get you a better interest rate. We'll buy it for you. It's going to cost us, I don't know, $12,000 to $17,000. We'll buy it for you. Okay. And then they get to sell you a house. It's worth it to them to buy the interest rate down, so you will buy one of their houses. Okay. It is a common thing that's done. But I would tell them to say, listen, don't buy my interest rate down for me. Pay my closing costs instead. I'll take the 7% interest rate. Pay my closing costs. That is $12,000 to $17,000. You don't have to pay for closing costs now, because now your closing costs have been paid, but you have the higher interest rate. So if they were going to, so that's $12,000 you don't have to pay, but on this loan, okay, instead of getting the 5% loan, we're going to take the 7% loan. You can take the $12,000 you didn't have to pay for closing costs, apply it to principal here. Okay. Look at this. $12,000 on this knocks off almost 3 years off this loan. Why would you want them to give you a lower interest rate when you can take your money that now I don't have to pay closing costs, and at the higher interest rate, do more damage to this loan? We have to deal with these three things. I need you to look these things up for yourself. You need to look up cognitive dissonance and study it. Why do we make the decisions the way we do? I need you to look up inattentional blindness. That's INATTEN, okay? TIONAL, inattentional blindness. The things we don't pay attention to are happening right before our eyes. It's visible. We just don't notice it because we're focused elsewhere. Banking depends on that. And here's why. Your loan, your mortgage loan, is sold to an investor within a few days of you closing. If investors knew that most of America knows, if I give the bank, if I give them $300 ahead of time, that investor does not make $2,300 in interest. If I give them $4,000 ahead of time, that investor does not receive $25,000 in interest, because you're paid down to there in 1 month. They were looking for you to give them that mortgage payment for 12 straight months so they can discount you by over 88%. Only 4,000 of your dollars would count. And this is what they're looking for, ladies and gentlemen. I need to make this entirely clear. The payment is $2,661, okay, and 21 cents times 12. Here's what the investor is hoping to get from you: $31,000 in the first year on this loan. The investor's counting on that because that's why they bought the loan. You pay them $31,934 in 1 year. Because of the amortization schedule, they get to discount it by $27,871.29. So only $4,063, excuse me, $4,063 out of all of that money, out of 31,000, almost $32,000 paid out. But only 4,000 of it counts. Why are we continuing to do this? Why are we continuing to be an interest generating machine for others when we don't have to? That is our lot in life if you never learn how to read this thing, how to read an amortization schedule. I mean, the videos are free. So now that you learn how to read an amortization schedule by watching this, now you have to deal with the psychology of change. How do we change over to do what we need to do? Anthony, are you still there? You still there, Anthony?
Yeah, I'm still here.
So listen, why do you think people continue to do things that actually hurt them when this information is available?
Because they don't have no knowledge.
Mm.
When you don't have no knowledge, you don't understand and you don't know what's going on. That's what happens.
Okay, let me ask you something, Anthony.
Yes.
It sounds like you have tried to let people know this. When you do, what happens?
They listen, they listen and they try to understand. And by me having the knowledge and I'm still learning, I want to give that kind of information out to, to people to help,
Mm-hmm.
So it just takes knowledge. It takes knowledge to, to understand, to learn, and then pass it on to other people so other people will know and know, what you need to do.
Okay. Have you tried to tell people that the higher interest rates actually would work better for them?
You know what? I didn't know. I didn't know. I didn't say that. I had an idea. I thought that one time when I was on your Clubhouse podcast, when I was on your podcast, I thought you had said something like that.
Sure.
And I just thought about it. I'm still learning as well. I'm still learning.
Okay.
I'm learning more as a real estate agent.
Right.
I'm trying to, educate myself more about mortgages and stuff like that, so I can, educate my clients.
Right. Does this make sense to you? Does this, what you've heard today, does this make sense to you?
It makes sense.
Yeah.
And I understand more.
You're understanding more. Okay, good. So keep it. Listen, Anthony, I need you to start watching the videos. All right.
Yeah.
And go to YouTube and start watching. You're going to learn more and you're going to learn it faster, because when you see the numbers, it makes a difference. Hearing about it is hard to visualize it because we've never been taught. But when you see the numbers, it is increasingly difficult to deny it.
Mm-hmm.
I want to thank you for bringing that question to the stage today. Do you have another question?
Did I have another question?
Yes, sir.
No.
Okay.
No, not right now.
Well, if something comes up, let us know.
All right, no problem.
All right, thank you. Go ahead. You can mute your mic. Listen, I see some other people in the audience today. If you are on YouTube, all right, or Facebook, and you want to come into our studio here live, I'm going to put a link in the comment section so that you can go to your Chrome browser, put this link in, and you can come to our stage here on YouTube live. And even if you agree with me, great. If you disagree with me, great. Bring what you have and let's enter into a conversation, because whether you agree with this or disagree with it, it's going to be a learning experience for everyone who's listening or watching. I need you to do this today to help me get this information out. People deserve to know. People deserve to know that all of this interest is not necessary. Let me show you what the bank is trying to do here, ladies and gentlemen. On a $400,000 loan, if we don't know any better, the bank wants to charge us at 7%, $558,000 in interest. What? Wait a minute. That's not 7%. $558,000 interest on a $400,000 loan. How is that legal? In fact, when you do the math, total interest paid as a percentage of principal, 139.5%. That's what's going on. That's why this investor bought your mortgage. This is why the investors absolutely do not want you to know what's going on here. Listen, I wish I had more people on the stage. I wish somebody would raise their hand and come on up. I see Mr. Nice. All right. You got NICE. What's going on, Mr. Nice? I got Dre on the stage. Nice. Can you talk to us? Click that button. Dre, what's going on today? Can you guys talk?
Yeah, sorry, I'm just listening.
Okay.
Thank you.
Just listening. Well, listen, you continue to listen. And because you're here, somebody will see you on stage and want to come to the stage as well. I see Big Izzy. What's going on, Mr. Big Izzy?
What's going on, boss? Good morning.
Listen, man, do you have a question or a comment this morning on this subject?
No, I just came into the room. I found it to be interesting.
I appreciate you, man. I appreciate you because right now we are in a system. We are in a system that causes us to become an interest generating machine for the big banks. Okay. So when you get a mortgage, this is crazy. This is crazy. They call it 7% when it's really 139.5%. Well, Don, what if I get a lower interest rate? All right. Well, let's take a look at that. Okay. In the days, just not too, just a few years ago, you could get a $400,000 mortgage. You could pay 3% just a few years ago. That's got to be better, right? Well, even at 3%, the amount of interest that they want on a $400,000 loan is $207,000. That's at 3%. Folks, $207,000 is not 3% of $400,000. There's something going on here, and no one is teaching it to us in grade school, in high school, in college, in grad school. No one is teaching how this thing works because banking depends on our ignorance so that we will continue to be interest generating machines. Did you know money is created through interest? Money is created through interest. How is money created? Money is created this way. You work for a living. You buy a house or a car or your education or use a credit card. You borrow money that doesn't even exist, but you pay it back. You pay it back with interest, with your money. Exactly. So if you've heard of fractional reserve banking, for every dollar that's deposited in the bank, a bank can lend out $9 or $10 for every dollar. They're lending out money that doesn't even exist. If you bought a house or a car, did they actually put the money in your hand? No, you borrowed money and they said you signed a promissory note to pay back money that was written into someone else's account. But you go to work, turn your effort into dollars, And you take your dollars to pay back money that didn't even exist, plus the interest. So lending actually creates money. You turn it into money. You grow the money supply through interest. The whole system depends on it. This is why the banking system would have to change if more people knew how to read an amortization schedule and how not to give them all of this money.
Because it's based upon 3% is based upon a daily amortization rate. Am I right?
It's something like that. So let me show you what's really going on here. So if we take this 3%, and if you're looking on our screen here, I'm glad you asked the question, sir. So here's what banking does. They take that 3%, 0.03, they actually divide it by 12, and they take the 0.0025. They take 1/12 of the interest rate and multiply it by the unpaid balance. So if we take this at 3% and multiply it by 400,000, we take this number, the 0.0025, multiply it by 400,000 equals $1,000. So let's take a look at the first interest payment. There it is. The first interest payment on this loan is $1,000. That's what they're doing. They take 1/12 of the interest rate and multiply by the unpaid balance 360 times for you to pay back enough money so that your principal is paid off. But even at 3%, the drag on your money is that you're going to give them 51% of what you borrowed. You got to give up $207,000 in interest to pay off a $400,000 loan, which means you pay back a total of $607,000 for your $400,000 house. Why would anybody want to do that? Don, we have to do that because we don't have $400,000 saved up. Yeah. What I'm saying is get your $400,000 house, borrow the money, but learn how to pay them 75% less. Let me show you how to skip interest payments so that you don't have to pay them. And when you give money to the bank, how would you like it if you could make it impossible for them to charge you interest? I'm talking about now you're in control. Would you like to be in control? Would you like to break free of the chains? Would you like to learn how you, using the P.I.L.L method, can break free? Do you want to say, or do you want to continue to be an interest generating machine when it is so easy to break free? Well, Don, I don't have a lot of money. You don't need a lot of money. What you need is to pay less interest. Take the money you have, learn how powerful it is to give the bank money when they're not expecting it. You see, nobody's telling us this. It comes down to that. Give them the money when they're not expecting it. And it's impossible for them to charge you interest. Why isn't Dave Ramsey using that terminology? Why isn't Susie Orman? Why do the people on CNBC, the financial channel, why are they saying that the interest rates are too high and it keeps people from buying when the higher interest rates actually will help them to save more money once you learn how to read and understand how an amortization schedule actually works? I'm just saying. We have an opportunity here, you and me, today, to learn more about how this works by watching these videos, by getting a savings and earnings report. You can get a free savings and earnings report today and learn how much interest you can save, not have to give the bank. Get a savings and earnings report today. Stop giving the money to the bank and learn how to invest that money yourself. You can go to ice10k.com. It's going across the screen right now. Okay. You can go to ice10k.com. We're going to put this on the screen. ice10k.com. And when you go there, you scroll down underneath, okay, ET's picture, Eric Thomas' picture, and click on the button that says Get Your Savings and Earnings Report. Get that. Break free from being an interest generating machine, because that's what we're doing. I'm not saying don't borrow money. I'm saying borrowing money using leverage is the way to go. Leverage the bank's money, but pay them pennies on the dollar for the use of their money. Don't waste another dollar paying off the wrong debt. Get your free savings report now. It's free. You know, I've talked to people who have listened to me for years, and I'm asking them, and they finally get around to getting their free savings report. I said, why didn't you get it before? They really don't have a good answer. I had to ask some psychologists what's going on here. And that's why we were talking about today. We were talking about, oh, let me put this back on the screen. I'm sorry. I took it off. All right. There we go. Here it is. Get your savings report now. And this is when I started learning about these three things. Now, it's a little bit more to it than this, but these are the main three things. Cognitive dissonance. It hurts to go against everything we've believed before. Inattentional blindness. We're blind to what we don't pay attention to. And irrational thinking when it comes to money. We are wired to think irrationally when it comes to money. In fact, the fear of loss is greater than the desire for gain. The fear of loss is greater than the desire for gain. So let me put something else on the screen here. Okay. I was working with an investor. Okay. And you tell me, when I put this on the screen, let me see here. Where's that example? There it is. Okay. I'm going to give you an example, and I'm going to tell you what we charged this person. They had $2 million in loans. $2 million in loans. Okay. And they were okay with paying $1,123,000 in interest on these loans because these are commercial loans. Let me show you how much these two buildings are bringing in each month. Over $57,000. That's what these two buildings are bringing in. $57,000. Let me show you what the mortgage payment is. $14,696. Isn't that crazy? They borrowed money. Their payments are $14,696, the mortgage payments, but these two buildings are bringing in over $57,000 a month. The owner of the buildings was not worried about the interest that they have to pay because they're making this kind of cash flow until they read my book, The P.I.L.L Method, A Better Way to Eliminate Debt. Read the book, gave me a call, and talked about this. So I showed him how instead of paying $1 million in interest to acquire those two assets, I showed him how he can, if you want to see this, folks, you want to go to YouTube to see this. I got clients calling me right now. Okay. Let me tell them, okay, I'm on the air on YouTube. I am on YouTube right now. How about that? Don't you just love live video? I just told him I'm on YouTube right now. Okay. So um, he wasn't worried about this $1,123,000 in interest until he read my book. I showed him how we can cut that down to $231,468. Okay. And that saves him $891,000 in interest he doesn't have to pay. He's going to save, by using our system, he's going to save $891,000 in interest, at least that. Guaranteed. We're going to save him that because we put it in writing. Now, let me ask you, you come and you're used to this, and I'm going to show you this. Now, does this look inviting? I'm going to pay off $2 million worth of debt. I am not going to give the bank $1,123,000. I'm only going to give up $231,000. I'm going to save $891,000. Now, this guy had a decision to make. I can continue to do what I've been doing, or I can use this system to optimize interest savings, but I have to pay 20 grand to get it. You tell me, should he be more worried about the $891,000 or the 20 grand he has to pay for a lifetime program that he can use over and over and over again? You see, for some people, the fear of loss is greater than the desire for gain. Now, does that mean a regular homeowner has to pay 20 grand? No, not even close. I mean, they don't have this much going on. Okay. But whatever it is, the interest saved is going to be way more than the cost of the program. So it is money that you had already signed up to give to the bank. So we make irrational decisions. I had to talk to a person last night that couldn't seem to go forward in me helping them to get an analysis like this because they were too worried about what I was going to charge them. How much do you charge? They were worried about how much money they could lose instead of what they could gain. They're already losing money. This guy was already losing $891,000 he didn't have to lose. Thank goodness he decided to go with the program. Now he's way better off. He's saving a ton of interest that he doesn't have to pay the bank. And his first prepayment to the loan. Okay, let me show you one of his loans. Let me show you one of his loans. And this is crazy. Okay. Let me put this on the screen. And all right, let me put this on the screen. All right. There it is. Okay. We're going to put one of his loans on the screen. Let me minimize this so we can, and we'll put one of his loans. Let's use this one here. Okay. The 400,000 here. We're going to put one of his loans on the screen. His payment was $8,700. Okay. 8704. Okay. That's his payment. It was a 5% loan, SBA loan, 5%. And we're going to take this out, but it was 300 months. Okay. It was only 25 years, 300 months. So here's one of his loans. Here's where it started. $1,488,906. There it is. Okay. I showed him how he could prepay about $30,000. Okay. Because he had it. All right. He had it in the bank. He could prepay $30,000. All right. Prepay it and save $73,000. But we didn't start there. We only started at prepaying $7,000. $7,000 out of his money. Okay. He's got hundreds of thousands of dollars in the bank. It took $7,500 out of the bank, applied it to the loan, and saved $18,000 in interest just with one payment almost saved enough interest to almost pay for his program. You know, the second time he prepaid something, you know he's going to save way more than the cost of the program. So here's what I mean by predictably irrational. There are so many people who are so worried about the fact that they have to pay something to save all of this interest. Let me tell you what that really means, how irrational that is. We have somebody who has a mortgage. Okay, let me see here. Has this mortgage, $400,000 at 7%. Okay, boom. Here's what they did. They put between 10 and 20% down to get this. Okay, 10% is 40 grand. They put 40 grand down to get this loan so that the bank can overcharge them by 139%. We're going to charge something. Would you hold on for just a second, please? Got on YouTube right now. Okay. Look for P.I.L.L method. All right, good. So there we are. Okay. So here's how irrational we can get when it comes to this. We pay 40,000 because we're used to that. We're used to the idea of putting 40 grand on a loan, or putting 10% down, or putting 3.5% down, or putting 20% down. We're used to that because everybody talks about that. We will put that money down to get a mortgage, to get the house of our dreams, all right, and pay interest like this, okay, where we're paying back 139.5%. We will sign a loan that we will pay back $558,000, but we paid 40 grand in order to do it. When I tell somebody that we can, let's bring that back. All right, when we tell somebody that what we can do is this, we'll take that 558,000. Okay, let's see here. Instead of 558,000, we're going to equals 558,000 divided by no, hold on. Delete. There we go. And they end up paying maybe 180,000 instead. We're going to show them how to pay 180,000 in interest instead of $558,000 in interest. Okay. But we're not going to charge them anywhere near the $40,000. Less than $10,000. This system would probably cost them less than $10,000. Okay. To take it from 558,000 to 186,000. In other words, we would save them about, let's see, we would save them about $372,000. So we could save them $372,000. We can show them how we could do it, but they're going to be so focused on the fee because it's an irrational fear. I paid 40 grand to overpay by $372,000. I'm going to pay way less than the 40 grand that I used to get into this mess.
But I don't want to pay the 10 to do it.
Exactly. Do you see how irrational that is, Big Izzy?
That is absolutely crazy.
But the fear of loss is greater than the desire for gain. So they will say no so they can continue to give the bank the 372 grand, but they can do it over time. That's taking the Band-Aid off so slowly. What do you think, Big Easy?
Yeah, that was the first question that I had in my mind. Like, how does time go into that factor? So, like the guy where you were talking about with the building, somebody that's generating, $57,000 a month with that kind of cash flow.
Yeah.
He's saying to himself, yeah, I can afford to do so because I can cover it with the monthlies. The bank's going to get theirs as long as I get mine. I can use it and put towards other things, other investments, pay down other debts, and then he can feel like he's winning. But when you're saying, hey, well, give me the 20 right now.
Yeah.
I don't want to do that. It's like you could take it out of 1 month's payment.
Exactly. Exactly.
So
if it's a business loan, they generally have to come up with 20% down anyway. That's a lot of money in order to overpay by over $800,000. It's fortunately, this guy says, I know the value of a good investment. I am not paying $20,000. I'm investing $20,000. What's going to be my return? $800,000. I don't have to pay the bank. Okay. What can he do with the $800,000 he doesn't have to give the bank? Let me put that on the screen. Okay. He can take that money, and over 17 years, he can take the money he did not give to the bank and turn it into $9 million if he invests that money instead of giving it over to the bank. It's going to cost him 20 grand to get into a system like this. Why wouldn't he do it? He did do it because he wasn't focused on losing the 20 grand. He was focused on not losing the 891,000 that he could use to invest to make 9 million. What do y'all think? You see, we are the system knows we make irrational decisions about money. The system knows that we have cognitive dissonance. The system knows that we have inattentional blindness, that we are looking at it, but we can't see. Oh, let me put this back on the screen. The system knows that we have intentional blindness. The system knows that we have cognitive dissonance. The system knows that it can predict our irrational financial behavior. The system knows. Wow. What are we going to do, folks? What are we going to do about this? Let's learn how to read an amortization schedule. Let's learn that we can, that there is technology out there that can help us to save this kind of money. Let me share with you, now that we're looking at this, I'm going to share with you not just this situation, but I'm going to share with you some others where people have wanted to do better and they tried to do better. So let me put this one on the screen too. We've got this. Let me put this one on the screen. We'll put this analysis on. Okay. We'll put another analysis on. All right. We'll put this one on. We'll put this one on, and we'll put this one on. I want to show you that. Let's go ahead and open these up. And let's see where this takes us. Boom, we'll put this over here on the screen. Okay. This was KC. All right. When we met KC, all right, when we met KC, they had, let me see here. This was a few years ago. They had a mortgage. Their mortgage was $123,000. So it wasn't very much. $123,000. All right. And in 71 months, they paid their loan down, and this was a mortgage of only 4.5%. In 31 months, they paid their loan down by $13,269.64. But look how much interest they gave the bank. Here's my question when I see this. How easy was it to give the bank $31,000 just so you can pay your mortgage down by 13 grand? That's a total of $44,000 paid out so you can benefit. That's $44,000 paid out. Look here, $44,000 paid out so you can get a benefit of $13,000 in equity. How easy was it to do that? And when people think about it, they say it was actually quite easy because I'm just making my mortgage payment. Okay. I'm just making the mortgage payment, and the mortgage payment was easy to do. I wasn't thinking about how much interest it was costing me. I wasn't thinking about that at all. But when I pointed out that your 4.5% interest rate really means 82% that you have to give back to the bank, and I show them how to read an amortization schedule, they say, for the first time in my life, somebody's explaining this to me. Somebody's explaining how an amortization schedule actually works and how we are interest generating machines. That is our goal in life, is to take the money that we make and turn it over to somebody else. And I said, now, do you know how much interest that the bank wants you to pay from now on? They said, yeah, I know how much interest the bank wants me to pay from now on because you're telling me right here. They want you to pay another $72,000 on top of the $31,000 that you already paid. That's how much they want you to pay. Or here's what you could do. You can continue to give the bank $72,500 in order to pay off your loan in 24 years. Or you can learn how to give the bank money in a way that it makes it impossible for them to charge you interest and pay out 33 grand to pay off the 123,000 that you owe and do it in 8.1 years. And the 33 grand includes our fee. Oh man, that includes our fee. That's the interest plus our fee. Do that, 33 grand, and you're out of debt on this loan, but you have a lifetime system that you can use over and over and over again. You know, we have folks that are paying off their third and fourth mortgage on this system. We've only paid for it once. It continues to work. So banking knows that we make irrational decisions about money. Here's another irrational situation turned into a rational one, where we met this person who had a 3% mortgage. This was years ago, 3% mortgage. And in 23 months, paid their mortgage down by $11,700, but it cost them 16 grand in interest to do it. Okay. They were okay with that until they read my book or they saw a YouTube video. And here's the thing. So in 60 months, once they've been in the loan for 5 years, here's how it would look. They would pay this loan down by $32,000, but it will cost them $41,000 in interest. $41,000 in interest to do that. Why did you want to pay $41,000 just to pay off 32 grand? When what you could do to pay off $410,000, not over 33.5 years, because they had a mortgage, they had other loans, and they had some serious credit cards. Okay. It would have taken them 33 years to do it the bank's way and paid out an extra $211,000. Or they can pay $82,000, learn how to pay off the $410,000 that they owe in 7.3 years with their current budget by learning how not to pay the interest the bank's way. Let's learn how to give the bank back their money in a way that makes it impossible for them to charge you interest, But ladies and gentlemen, what is hard for some people is to get past the cognitive dissonance. Don, I'm looking at the numbers. I see the numbers. You deserve to know. This system that we're in right now is 89 years old this year. And in 89 years, no one has come forward to teach you how a mortgage actually works until now. So you tell me, Big Izzy, Mr. Nice, Anthony, have you in your lifetime heard anybody break down a mortgage like this before? What do you think? Have you ever heard it before?
No.
No. And you are a real estate agent.
Yes. Mm-hmm.
So as a real estate agent, let me ask you, do they teach you how an amortization schedule actually works so that you can get your license? Do they teach that at all?
No.
No.
If they do, it's just maybe the little basics of,
Yeah.
the little basics of it or whatever like that.
Yeah.
Yeah, but no, they don't go in at all.
No. Do you think, knowing what you know now, do you think it'd be a good idea to teach real estate agents how this really works?
Yes.
Okay.
I think so. Knowing that it's not our job to, teach clients or worry about clients with the mortgage. That's why we have lenders and
Mm-hmm.
people that work at the bank. That's their job.
Yeah.
But it's good as a real estate agent knowing that right now with the interest rates and things like that, it's good to be educated. So when you're
Yeah.
talking to the client, especially getting them pre-approved and
Mm-hmm.
things like that, it's good to give them, good advice, and, just minimum, for me, just minimum. And then I'll just recommend a lender, a
Mm-hmm.
good one,
Yeah.
that can help them and stuff like that. But by me educating and learning about all this stuff, it gives me an idea of working with a good lender that knows it as well, and we can just help that client, and help myself. I have a mortgage, so
Right.
and by what you're teaching, like what you're teaching is awesome. So
Mm.
I'm gonna go on your YouTube. I'm gonna learn everything. Hey, yeah, this is some, and I've never been taught this in high school.
Mm-hmm.
Never been taught as a kid. I've always been into finance. I like to invest, and by doing these things, you can have extra money to invest your money in.
Right.
Make investments. A lot of people, they don't know about these things, and that's why they can't get further in life because they don't have any extra money to invest and do all that kind of stuff.
Mm-hmm.
So this is awesome.
So let me ask you something, Anthony. I've got on the screen here, I've got a $400,000 mortgage, and now you have a client that has you are the buying agent, okay? And they say, well, this is the house I want. I have an extra $100,000 I could put down as well. I could put $100,000 down, and then I could have a $300,000 mortgage at 7%, which would probably be better for me, And then you could point out, I said, well, you could do that, Mr. Client. But what if you decided to take the $400,000 mortgage instead? Okay. You would still have your $100,000. If you wanted to, you could take your $100,000 and apply it to principal if you wanted to, because since you were going to do it anyway, you're going to use it as a down payment. But what if you used it as a prepayment on this loan? Do you realize if I go down to $100,000 in cumulative principal, I'm still scrolling here. At $100,000 applied to this loan, I knock off 176 payments I never have to make. I still have a $300,000 loan. Look at this. I still have a $300,000 loan. Okay. But by prepaying the $300,000, I just killed $368,000 in interest. That is, for a lot of people, Anthony, that is inconceivable. I can put $100,000 as a down payment is something they can believe in because everybody does it. But if you show them this, what type of hero would you be to your client if you could pull up an amortization schedule and say, what if you did this with your $100,000 instead? Do you think they would appreciate you for that?
Of course.
Of course. That's why it matters. That's why real estate agents ought to learn how to read an amortization schedule so they can help their clients more.
Mhm.
How about that? You see, folks, it's right there in front of us. It has always been there right in front of us. But we just haven't been able to learn how to read it. My. And now it's available. Now you can, excuse me, break free. You don't have to be an interest generating machine anymore. You can break free with the P.I.L.L method. You can. Oh, and where do you start? You start by educating yourself. You can start by watching these videos. You can start by getting my book on Amazon. You can start by getting a free savings report by going to ice10k.com. That's my digital business card.
How much is your book, bro?
Oh, let's bring it up. Let's go. Let's bring it up. Let's see here. Amazon. Okay. Okay. And P.I.L.L method. P.I.L.L method. Boom. Okay. Right now it's at $46. $46 is done. Why is your book probably the most expensive financial book on on Amazon? The reason is because it's the only book out of 33 million titles that even begins to help you to understand what we're talking about today. The value there is huge. It is tremendous. I mean, one prepayment on your mortgage, on your car loan, on your credit card, one prepayment more than pays for the book. So you can get the book. And I tell the people, listen, if you're looking to this book to get a ABC 1, 2, 3, here's what you need to do. Don't buy the book for that. You buy the book to get an education as to why we need to change our attitudes. This is the reason for this book. If you want to know how to overcome interest, then you need the opportunity cost calculator. You need to know what it means to have a machine on your side, have AI on your side to help you to figure out what to pay and what not to pay. So let's put that on the screen. Let's put that on the screen. So go here. Okay. And we're going to bring over the AI system that does all of the math. Okay. Bring up a demo and pull it over. I'm pulling it up now. We're loading it into our computer and we'll bring it over. But thank you for asking about the book. But if you're looking for the book to give you instruction on how to do all of this, don't buy the book for that reason. Please don't, because it doesn't do that. It tells you why you need a system like this. Okay. This is John and Rebecca Jones. And they decided that looking at their budget, they watched our videos and they said, listen, it's going to be worth it to us to deal with this, let's take a look at the fact that they don't make a whole lot of money. I'm going to reset this. Reset this. We're going to use this simple template. There we go. All right. And we'll take a look at the accounts here. In here, we see that they have about $500 in the bank. In their checking account, they have about 5,000 in savings. So they're not rich. Okay. They have a $25,000 auto loan at 4%. They owe $2,000 on their Visa, which is at 21%. And they have a $200,000 mortgage at 6%. They have a total of $227,000 in debt. If they pay it like the bank wants, okay, they're going to pay a lot of money in interest. When they start our program, even when they start, we're showing them right up front in the upper right-hand side, they're going to save, keep from losing $179,000 in interest right off the bat. $179,000 in interest they don't have to pay. But it's $179,000 they can afford to pay because they signed up for the loans. They can afford to pay it. But what we tell them is that you don't have to now. Okay. And it is when you're not paying all of that interest, ladies and gentlemen, you can pay off all of these loans in 7.7 years easily with their income. Let's take a look at their income. How much money they're making. Okay. So John gets paid bi-weekly $950. Rebecca gets paid weekly $700. So their average take home is a little over $5,000 a month. Their average bills every month, look over here to the left, about $3,700 $3,760 a month. That's their average. They average about $1,300 left over after all the bills are paid. That's their average. Sometimes they're going to have more in bills. Sometimes they'll have less. Here's what the program does. It says, now, when you are getting your income in, you just tell the program you got paid. You just click the line, you click execute, you tell the program, I just got paid, okay? And when you do that, you just point and click, that disappears because now you told the program you got paid. You take a look at the bank accounts now. Your virtual bank account in the program, it matches exactly what they have at their bank. They have $1,450 in the bank right now in their checking account, which that allows them to go ahead and pay the mortgage, pay the utilities, and then Rebecca gets paid. Now we're going to put that $700 in the bank. And now the program goes to work and says, you know what? You all have $100 in your checking account you don't need for anything else. Let's put that in savings. And we're going to start building up extra savings and build up more savings here. Pay the phone bill, get another paycheck, build up some more savings after you pay in the bills. Buy your groceries for the month. Pay the minimum payment on the Visa and the auto loan, and pay assortment of other bills, which add up to about $1,300. Okay, so now you paid all your bills and you put some money in the bank, and now the program says, you know what? You keep that up and paying your bills. When the program says put money in the bank, you do, and then it finally says, you know what? Take $2,000 out of the bank and pay off the Visa card to zero. When you do, this is how much interest you'll save. $1,800 in interest you'll never have to pay. And we keep track of that. Okay? So now we just keep following the program, and it acts like a financial GPS. So why don't we just go ahead and do like 3 months worth? I'm going to go ahead and click on the entire month here, select the month. We're going to do execute multiples. We're going to do the entire month of January and execute that. We paid all the bills. We put money in the bank, blah, blah, blah. And this drops down to 7.6 because now we're paying, we're putting money on the debt. We're going to go through the entire month of February. Okay. And then in February, we're actually paying off a debt here. Okay. So let's see what happens when we do. We're going to click on and do the entire month, execute that. And we just add it up here. You see the actual interest saved is $1,800. So now we go down here, we're looking at March, we're putting away money, and oh, in April, we're going to put $2,580.08. Now, why 8 cents? Because this is an optimization program. When you do exactly as it says, you're going to save more per dollar. You're going to kill more interest per dollar if you put exactly this much on in exactly this day, which is the 13th of April. Now, the next time you do it, it might be a different day, totally different amount based on what's actually going on in your life. But I just want to show you something here. By putting $2,580.08 on this mortgage, that saves them over $12,224 in interest they never have to pay. What does that mean? If they give that money to the bank the way the bank wants it, they will pay down their mortgage by $2,580, but it will cost them $12,224 in interest to do it. Or they can take that money that they've saved up after all the bills were paid, take some of it and put it on the mortgage early when the bank is not expecting it, and it makes it impossible now for the bank to charge them $12,224. And their program is paid for now for the rest of their lives. How about that? So, folks, what we're trying to tell you is you deserve to know. You deserve to know that you don't have to remain entrapped by cognitive dissonance. You can move past it. Now, if you need to watch the videos, if you need to watch the videos, read the book, continue to do that until it makes sense for you. If you just want to call us up and say, listen, I just want an hour consultation, $150, just to learn more, get on a Zoom with one of us and learn more about how this works with your numbers, we'll be glad to do that as well. Learn what this means to stop being an interest generating machine. Okay? Learn what it means to get past intentional blindness. Look where you need to look to not give all of that money to the bank and use it more judiciously. Use it the way it was intended to be used. Okay? And for all of you faith-based people, if you want to know what it means to understand stewardship from this level, let me tell you something. There are a lot of people that believe in tithing and giving an offering. There are a lot of people that believe tithing and offering. But what I'm trying to tell you is, to me, that's not stewardship. To me, tithing and offering is a mandate. There's nothing to think about there. Okay, you just do it because it's something that we do. But here's the thing, folks. Stewardship has more to do with the 90% that's left. How do we take care of it? How do we manage it? We need more information on how to manage the 90% that's left, and that there is practically silence on that in our churches today. So why don't we spend more time on that? It is hard enough to live. Why don't we spend more time on how to manage the 90% so that we can pay off all of our debt in about 7 years, and we would have actually more to store up. The Bible talks about storing up treasure in heaven. We can store up more treasure in heaven because now it doesn't cost as much to live because we've taken the time to understand how to be good stewards of our money. You hear what I'm saying, everybody? Does this make sense to you? All right. Well, anyway, let me talk about this because I just got back from I just got back from a conference where I was a featured speaker at Diversitech in Philly. All right, just got back from that, and that was a great experience. A great experience. I really enjoyed that. And let's see here. In April, well, next month, I'm going to be in Miami at the ByteCon conference. These are tech conferences. The tech world is now hearing about our AI system that manages money, that manages finances. And I'm being invited to come speak at these tech conferences, and it is really exhilarating. All right. And what I'm finding out is that, I'm not 20 something anymore or 30 something anymore. And that's who's hanging out at these tech conferences. And I'm trying to figure out what they're doing, because these young people are making not just low six-figure incomes in tech, they're making mid to high six figures in tech. And I'm telling you, if you're technical at all, if you have any interest in any of these tech, to get expertise here, so that you can get a job in tech. I mean, from my vantage point, it's very profitable. Okay, so look up the tech, and we're looking to be in Houston in October at Afrotech. All right, look up Afrotech. I think it's one of the largest, if not the largest, tech conferences for Black and Brown people in the world. And I just sent off some information there. Hopefully, we'll be hearing back soon that we'll be speaking in Houston at Afrotech. All right. So let me get this off the screen. Let me bring that up. Afrotech. Okay, Afrotech conference. There it is, October 27th through 31st. Look it up. So if you have aspirations to be in the tech industry and learning all the different tech jobs, all right, look it up and get involved. And these conferences is not only where you can learn about tech jobs, but employers show up at these conferences and they're hiring people on the spot. There are not enough Black and Brown people in tech. But when you go to these things, you would say, listen, you're just amazed at how many Black and Brown people are in this area thriving. And it just brings joy to my heart to be able to see it. Not only that, but they listen. They get it. They know how hard it is to write and a program that optimizes interest savings, and they understand it. So I'm looking forward to doing more and more of these conferences. In fact, this year we have chosen to focus on doing more public speaking at tech conferences and more churches. So if you know somebody who's looking for a speaker, please contact us at ice10k.com, or I can put our number on the screen, which is 256-886-1867. Let me see. There it is. Call now. Okay, let me put that on the screen. P.I.L.L method. Number is 256-886-1867, 256-886-1867. We're looking to do more public speaking at your organization, your church, your city. If you are in government, bring us in, because we can help your people save a ton of interest that they can invest in your area, in your city, in your churches, wherever, instead of giving it to the banks and everybody wins. Everybody wins. Because we can now take that money and invest it in creating some generational wealth instead of paying 75% more interest than we need to pay. Let's break free. Let's break free of being an interest generating machine with the P.I.L.L method. Do I have any other questions today? We're probably going to end up a little bit early today because I've got some phone calls to make. Do I have any other questions or comments? Let me take a look at the chat here.
Yeah, Big wanted to know those dates again, John.
Of which one? Where I'm going to be in April?
No, Afrotech.
Afrotech is, let me take this off the screen. Afrotech is in Houston, October 27th through 31st. So go ahead and look it up. And they have several types of ticket choices. Just go ahead and Google it, Afrotech Conference 2025. And hopefully I'll be hearing in a few days whether I'll be a speaker there. All right. And next month, I'm going to be in Miami. Okay. Here is BikeCon in Miami. And we will be there April 10 and 11. I'm speaking on the 11th. Okay. That's Friday, the 11th. I'll be speaking there. All right. So that's kind of where we are today. All right. Anybody else got anything else they want to ask about this? Let me see
I
here.
didn't have any other questions, but I hope that you get the opportunity to speak at Afrotech, and I did purchase the book. It's on the way. It'll be tomorrow.
I appreciate that, man. I appreciate that so very much. Thank you for buying the book. I appreciate that. All right. So said Bob Bennett says 90 cents out of every dollar is lent out. The reserve is 10 cents. I got you. I got you. All right. It says, how does it with the taxes and principal combine? Okay. So how does it work? If your taxes and if your taxes are combined in your mortgage payment, okay, that is let me take this off the screen. Okay, that is called when you escrow your payment, and for some mortgages you don't have to escrow. You can pay your taxes and insurance separate. Some mortgages require it, that you include your taxes and insurance in the mortgage. And even though there are some people who don't have to do it, they don't know that they have to do it. They don't have to do it that way. They don't know they have the option to opt out to pay your. You can take that money that they're putting for their. An escrow account is this. They're creating a bank account for you where you're paying your taxes and insurance monthly. They just divide up the payment for taxes and insurance by 12, and then you pay 1/12 of it every month. They put it in an account for you that pays you no interest. What? They call that a favor? They put it in a bank account for you that pays you no interest so that they can pay the taxes and insurance for you. Listen, can you put it in your own bank account? A high interest yielding account? Can you do that for yourself? And then pay your own taxes and insurance every year? Just put a reminder on the calendar? And at least you're getting the interest for the money. Right now, you're getting nothing, zero. So look into it. If you have a conventional loan, you may be able to opt out of escrow and pay your own taxes and insurance. All right, let me see what else I have here. Okay. All right, there we go. All right, well, I didn't have very many questions today. So Bam is here from Los Angeles. Thank you for being here, Bam. At least he was here. Yeah, he's here today. I appreciate you, Bam. Listen, Bam, I'd love to come to Los Angeles. Listen, this guy has some connections. The next time somebody needs a speaker, Bam, you let them know about the P.I.L.L method and Don Daniel. I would love to be on the West Coast with you all. I mean, I'm looking for every opportunity. Listen, I have it written down in my book, Bam. Let me show you. I'm pulling it up now. Hold on, folks. I'm going to tell you something that is important for you to know. Here's my notebook. It's like a diary that's just blank pages, and I write in here. I write in stuff that I want to be able to do. And so I've written in here how much income I want to bring in monthly. I've written it in here in this book. And do you know, I read a book called The Go Giver. It is a book about how to be in service to others. Do you realize your income will be determined by how many people you serve and how well you serve them? Not how well you sell them, but how well you serve them. Come on, everybody. When you serve people well, do you know that they will sing your praises from the mountaintops, and people will beat a path to your door to do business with you because you are service oriented? Do you believe it today? I believe it. Okay. So I've written that down. I've also written down that I want to speak to more churches. I've written it down. And do you know that churches are actually reaching out? I talked to a church last night and they said, Don, can you come back next week? All right. I got a call from a church in Detroit. Listen, I'm not putting out feelers. I didn't tell anybody I wrote this down. Listen, I'm telling you, I wrote it down and people are calling. Okay. I got a call was it last night? Yeah, it was last night from somebody who read my book, who gave it to their pastor, and now is set up a meeting for me to call their pastor. I'm going to be calling them right after this show. And I wrote it down in the book. And let me tell you something. There's something powerful about that. Habakkuk 2:2 says, write the vision, make it plain. Oh my goodness. I wish I could tell you how many times I've written it in the book, written it down, write the vision and make it plain, and it comes to pass. I'm telling you, God is good this way. All right. Give God a big something to do. We ask God for teeny tiny stuff. Ask God for something big in your life. How can I serve more people? How can you use me to help more people? And I'm telling you, it'll happen. So that's just some of the things that I've written down in the book. Okay. Get your own book. Write some things down in there, how you can be a benefit to your family, to your community, to your organizations, to your job, even. Write it down. And I'm telling you, I had no idea when I wrote this down that I wanted more public speaking, that somebody was going to come to me. Somebody came to me and said, Don, I can get you hooked up on the tech speaking circuit. I can get you hooked up there. I've got some influence there. And somebody I met here on Clubhouse who liked what we're doing is now introducing me to these people and saying, fill out the application. I'm going to put a good word in for you. These people didn't know me from Adam, and I'm getting featured speaking spots because of service, creating relationships with other people. So, folks, we're getting more opportunities to share how people don't have to become interest generating machines, how they can break free using technology and education. That's where we are today. So if there are no more questions, we're going to end this right about 9 o'clock Central Time, 10 o'clock Eastern. We're going to end it today. That means we will have been on for about 2 hours. And I just pray that this has been good information for you today. All right. But do this for me. Do this for me. Other people deserve to know. And since this is the only show that is giving this kind of information out, will you tell at least 10 other people about our channel? If you're watching it live or if you're watching the replay, tell 10 other people about this program and have them subscribe. Let's get this message out. Let's break free from the chains that bind us. Let's break free from the information that from the conditioning that we have been subject to for years. Let's learn how to think like little children. When little children see this, they say, oh my gosh, well, who would want to do that? Let's think like them. Let's get out of it. Let's do something, and let's start creating some generational wealth for us. I'll be back next week. Next week, let's see, we're going to be back and talking about investing, real estate investing next Wednesday. And let me see here. I think I've got confirmation. Colleen Gallagher is going to be here with us next week, who is like the queen of real estate investing when it comes to wholesaling. She's going to be with us next week. So you want to be here. If you want to learn more about how the P.I.L.L method and real estate investing works together, it's going to be an awesome show. All right, everybody. Thank you for being here. Don't forget to go get your savings and earnings report. Go to ice10k.com, ICE, the number 10, the letter K.com, and fill out your free savings report. And I'll see you in Miami next month on the 11th. And I'll see you again next week when we come in to talk to you about real estate investing. Okay? Well, that's it for this week. Thank you so much. And let's find our theme music. I see you, Bam. I see you out there, my brother. You know we need to talk. You know we need to talk. All right, everybody. See you next week.